And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, great scholars and great leaders. Thank you so much for joining us again tonight as we discuss leadership. We are discussing a very interesting topic tonight, and I'll be introducing our speaker shortly. My name is Mazwe Majola. I'm from the Worldwide Institute of Leadership and Development. We do this every Wednesdays as leaders, as scholars, because we come here to learn, to unlearn, to relearn, and to co-learn together. We've realized that leadership is not a destination; it's a journey, and that's why it's so important for leaders to constantly develop in themselves, and that is why we meet here as leaders and as scholars, just to encourage each other, to inspire each other, to empower each other, and to correct each other. Thank you so much for joining us. May I welcome our members and our regulars for joining us as often as possible. We learn a lot from each other every day, or rather every week when we meet. And thank you so much for joining us. And a special welcome to those colleagues who are joining us for the first time. If you are here for the first time, if you've never been with us, thank you for joining us, and you're so welcome. And please do feel at home, do participate. This is a safe space. This is leaders, where leaders and scholars are meeting and just discuss leadership. So please do interact. We'd like to learn from you as much as we'd like to learn from us. Tonight we are discussing leading without permission. And I'm going to introduce our speaker now, and she's going to address us. And then after that, we'll engage with her, and then we'll engage with each other as we always do. Thank you so much. Tonight, we are meeting my sister, Noxolo Fani. Noxolo, can you open your video as we are welcoming you and as we are introducing you, so that people can see that it's a real person. This person is here. Thank you, sis. So Noxolo will be addressing us shortly, as I said. Noxolo is a visionary leader and an award-winning businesswoman behind phenomenal light construction and legacy blueprint. At PL Construction, Noxolo leads a team dedicated to preserving the integrity of infrastructure through specialist concrete solutions. Their expertise spans concrete placement, repair, maintenance, and finishing, ensuring that structures stand the test of time, from revitalizing aging infrastructure to maintaining existing assets and delivering high-quality finishes on new developments. The company is committed to preserving infrastructure for generations to come. Noxolo has been selected on various business initiatives, such as the InvestTech Global Exposure Program, and as one of 15 women nationwide for Sasol's prestigious 24-month Women in Engineering Incubator Program, amongst others. She is a recipient of the Mail and Guardian Powerful Woman in Business Award, and has been recognized by Icon South Africa for her contributions to business and entrepreneurship. She has been selected to showcase her company and its work on various prestigious platforms and at industry events, including the African Mining Indaba, in partnership with the DTIC and Proudly South Africa. She has also participated in numerous youth development engagements with the Noxolo Foundation and various other organizations. That is Noxolo, ladies and gentlemen. She is going to be talking about leading without permission. She's an entrepreneur, she's a speaker, and she's a builder of people. I like that. And we're so glad that she could manage, or she was able to find time to join us tonight. Sister Noxolo, thank you so much, my sister, for joining us. We are so looking forward to learning from you, and thank you so much for availing yourself to empower us and to inspire us. Over to you. We like to listen from you now. Thank you, sis.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Unmuted myself. Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Majola. First, I'd like to basically express my appreciation for the opportunity to come through at your invite on this leadership platform, and for the important work that you continue to do through the Worldwide Institute of Leadership and Development, and creating spaces where, of course, leaders, entrepreneurs, professionals, and emerging change makers can come together to learn, reflect, and grow. And to everyone joining us this evening, thank you for investing your time in this conversation. Time is one of the few resources that we can recover, and so I do not take your presence lightly. And for those who may not know me, I think you've heard a bit about who I am, and so I won't say much about that, aside from the fact that my journey has taken me from corporate employment in my early years into entrepreneurship, from boardrooms to construction sites, from periods of growth, success, to moments of uncertainties and challenges. Along the way, I have had the privilege of building businesses, developing people, working alongside industry leaders, and more recently dedicating significant time to youth development and helping young people unlock their own potential. All right. So as introduced, I think we all did manage to hear what the topic is today, leading without permission. And the reason behind this particular topic, it is a very personal topic as an entrepreneur and a business owner who has, I suppose, gone through the journey of facing head on some of the challenges that we might be aware of or some not aware of in terms of young people going into business in South Africa, of course, and the African continent or global scale, but just going into business and the varied challenges that you can meet as a leader. And so I've titled this masterclass, if I may call it that, Leading Without Permission, with a note under that basically saying lessons from building a business when nobody gives you a seat at the table. Okay, now let's begin this conversation with a question. How many of you have ever felt overlooked, passed over, underestimated, excluded, ignored? Not because you lacked the ability, but because someone else controlled access to the opportunity, a seat at the table, a promotion, a contract, a platform, an investment, or a chance. The truth is, most of humanity understands this feeling. A young graduate understands it. An entrepreneur understands it. I know it very well. A woman entering a male-dominated industry understands it. A small business competing against established corporations understands it. And entire nations and continents understand it. And the natural response is to focus on the gatekeepers when this question is posed. The people who won't let us in, the systems that exclude us, the opportunities that we didn't get. But over time, I discovered something, that people who won't let us in, the systems that exclude us, the opportunities that we didn't get, the greatest challenge is not the seat at the table. There are two great challenges that we'll discuss tonight. Why are you waiting to be given a seat at someone else's table to begin with? That's the first challenge. Number two, the second is deciding who you will become while working to get there and when you arrive there, which speaks to the notion of leadership. To the first challenge, why have we accepted the idea that opportunity is something that is given rather than something created? Not entitlement, not victimhood, not waiting, but creation, agency, responsibility, and initiative. Builders, not petitioners. Who convinced us that our future sits in the hands of a manager, a company, a government, an investor, a client, an industry, or a gatekeeper? Because when you think about it, that is a very, very strange way to live. Waiting, hoping, asking, seeking permission, seeking approval, seeking validation, and waiting for someone else to decide what we are worth. Yet many people spend years of their lives doing exactly that, waiting for the promotion, waiting for the opportunity, waiting for recognition, waiting for that contract from that investor, whether it's money or resources, waiting for someone to finally see your value. But history, I'd like to propose, tells us a different story. The world we live in today was not built by people waiting for seats at some table. It was built by people who saw something that didn't exist sometimes, and they decided to create it. Every business, every invention, every movement, and every nation, every solution started because somebody looked at the world as it was and imagined what it could become. Then they moved without permission. That is the essence of leadership that I'm bringing tonight. Not position, not title. Leadership begins the moment a person accepts responsibility for creating value where they see a need. And that is why I've come to believe that perhaps the important question each person needs to begin with is this even the table I should be sitting at? Is this the table that I should be sitting at? Depending on where you are in your journey or career or building whatever business that you are trying to build. The greatest opportunities in life are not always found at existing tables. Sometimes they are found in the spaces nobody's paying attention to. The gaps, the problems, the inefficiencies, the unmet needs. The things everyone complains about, but nobody is actually solving. The entrepreneur sees those gaps and says, there is an opportunity. The leader sees those gaps and says, there is responsibility. This realization changed my life. Years ago, I found myself in a position many people find themselves in. I could have spent years trying to convince my then managers or superiors to see my potential in corporate, trying to convince somebody else to give me a bigger opportunity, trying to convince somebody else to create space for me. Instead, I made a different decision. I stopped focusing on the seat. I started focusing on the horizon. I began asking, what kind of life do I want to build? And when I looked honestly at my circumstances, I realized something. The path I wanted was not going to be given to me by a company that I was at the time or the next. I was going to have to build it. What is interesting is that when the opportunity finally appeared, it did not arrive wrapped in certainty. Not at all. It arrived wrapped in possibility, of course. It arrived in an industry where I had no formal qualification because I had studied multimedia at UJ and specialized in animation because I am a creative. No construction degree, no construction experience, no seat at the table. But I saw something. I saw an opportunity of creating something meaningful. And so I stepped forward. Not because I had permission and not because I had guarantees, not because I knew exactly how it would unfold, but because I believed that the future belongs to people who are willing to build before they are invited. And that brings me to the central idea of what I want us to explore tonight. Leading without permission is not about rebellion. It's about a change in perspective. It's not about arrogance. It's not about ignoring people. It's about refusing to surrender your future to the opinions or the decisions and limitations of others. It is about taking responsibility for creating value. From the meetings I was able to secure with the MDs of the Big Five back then in construction, the directors I was able to convince to take me under their wings and mentor me so I could learn, to the experienced concrete specialists like Arlindo da Costa, an old man who would go on to teach me on the ground about concrete, and to the deals I would close, leading teams on projects such as Discovery Head Office in Sandton and Sasol Place in Sandton, and many more. When I was selected by Sasol as one of the 15 women running engineering businesses for the first cohort, I again, scoping the horizon for what is I had determined to get in that opportunity through my efforts, was able to secure our vendor number and the opportunities that would come with it later. I was the only one in that group of 15 who was able to get that vendor number in that period. Again, because I don't wait to be given things I already know I want and have made a decision about. I take the initiative and I apply extreme intention around that through the relationships I build and the efforts that I had to make to acquire that. So it is about becoming committed to your purpose, to your closing, or rather to opening the closed doors that, or rather, we sometimes think are closed, to running over some of the obstacles and start looking in other directions of opportunities. And to the second challenge, which I spoke about in the beginning, which is deciding and committing to who you will become, which is a big notion when we come to the leadership aspect. While working to get there, who will you become? And when you arrive there, who will you remain, or will you become something different? Because eventually many people get the seat, many get the title, many get the money, many get the power. The question is, what kind of leader arrives when the opportunity finally comes? I'll propose this as part one under this particular topic. I propose, before you build, define success for yourself. One of the greatest mistakes leaders make is starting the journey before defining the destination. In construction, we never start with concrete. We start with a drawing, a vision, a purpose, a clear understanding of what we are trying to create. Yet many people spend decades building careers, businesses, and lives without ever defining what success looks like for them. So let's start with, what does success actually mean? Because whatever you define as success will eventually shape every decision that you make on that journey. If success is money alone, money becomes your compass. If success is status, status becomes your compass. If success is significance, service becomes your compass. And eventually every leader follows their compass. When I left corporate, I wasn't running away from a bad manager, a difficult environment, or limited opportunities only. I was moving towards my definition of success. And that distinction matters. Many people make major life decisions based on frustration. Very few make them based on clarity. At that stage of my life, I was very young, in my early 20s. Success wasn't a salary, even though I did want money too, as do we all. Success wasn't a title. Success wasn't a corner office for me. Success meant freedom for me. The freedom to build something of my own, the freedom to create, the freedom to take responsibility for my own future rather than placing it in someone else's hands. That definition immediately changed my decision making. Once freedom became the goal, staying where I was no longer made sense. The next thing success meant to me was growth. I was always curious, some would say even rebellious. I have never been particularly interested in staying inside the boundaries of what people think is possible. I wanted to test myself. I wanted to learn. I wanted to discover what I was capable of becoming. Which is why when construction appeared on my horizon, I wasn't asking, do I have a degree in construction? I wasn't asking, do I have enough experience? I was asking, can I learn this? Because my definition of success included growth, and growth requires discomfort. And we will talk about discomfort as we go on. Then there was significance. I wanted to build something that would outlive me, a business, a legacy, something that created value long after I'm gone. Now, in hindsight, I do sometimes laugh at and wonder why life chose two of the most challenging industries imaginable, construction and mining, as the vehicles for that dream. But perhaps that is exactly the point. When significance becomes the goal, difficult challenges stop looking like obstacles and start looking like opportunities. Over time, however, my definition of success evolved, and I believe mature leaders allow their definition of success to evolve. Today, success is still about building, but it is less about building projects and more about building people. Construction remains my Mount Everest because I do like a good challenge. It continues to challenge me, stretch me, and teach me. But youth development fills my cup. I am, I suppose, fascinated by transformation in real time. The process of helping a young person move from uncertainty to confidence, from limitation to possibility, from potential to purpose. Because ultimately, I have come to realize that success is not simply about what it is that we are building, it is about what and who we help build. And that is why defining success matters so much. Because whatever you define as success, as I've said, becomes your compass. It determines what opportunities you pursue, what sacrifices you are willing to make, what risks you will take, what challenges you endure, and ultimately who you become. The question is also not just whether you have defined success. The question is whether you have defined it consciously. Because if you don't define success for yourself, the world will gladly define it for you. We'll look at the next section. The table is actually not the goal. Now, this is one of the most important ideas in this entire masterclass. Most people think the seat is the goal. The promotion, the contract, the position, the title, the boardroom, the award, the recognition that comes with success. What if the value you create is the goal? History is filled with people who got the seat and actually accomplished very little, if anything. And history is filled with people who never got the seat and they changed the world anyway. This is where leaders separate themselves, I believe. One asks, how do I get in? The other asks, how do I contribute? One focuses on access and the other focuses on value. Eventually, value creates access. But access without value eventually exposes itself. So here's a powerful reflection that we can take from this. If nobody ever gave you a seat at the table, could you build your own table? When I started the business, nobody handed me a seat at the table. There was no special invitation like this invitation that I got to present today. No guarantees to success, no roadmap, no queue of clients waiting for me. There was simply an opportunity to build. And so I started, project by project, relationship by relationship, mistake by mistake, lesson by lesson, and over time, credibility began to grow. Opportunities began to grow, and the opportunities began to grow. But the journey was never free from doubt, resistance, or skepticism. I have been overlooked. I have been underestimated. I have walked into rooms where people assumed I didn't belong. In fact, I remember attending an induction session for bidders on a major project. A gentleman from a large competing company sat down next to me. He looked at me directly in the eyes and said, "You'll never get this contract. It's not just about what you know, but who you know." Now, perhaps there was some truth in what he said. Relationships matter and networks matter. But what struck me was the assumption behind the statement. So I replied, because I'm a bit cheeky and rebellious, "How about you hand me your business card and I give you a call for coffee when I get this contract?" The assumption is that people already sitting at the table were the ones who would determine my future. And that is where I disagreed, because I have come to believe that leadership begins when you stop waiting for other people to decide what is possible for you and the dream or goal you want to achieve. You start building anyway. You start learning anyway. You start creating value anyway. You start showing up anyway. Whether they believe you or not, whether they approve of you or not, whether they make room for you or not. And years later, I'm still here, still building, still learning, and still creating. Not because someone gave me permission, but because I stopped believing permission was actually ever required. Let's look at the next section. The chrysalis. Every meaningful journey eventually enters what I call the soup. You know, when a butterfly, before it becomes a butterfly, goes into its cocoon and becomes what they call the soup to transition into being a butterfly. The stage between what was and what will be. The stage where nothing makes sense sometimes. The stage where confidence can disappear. The stage where results can be delayed. The stage where quitting, it feels reasonable. Entrepreneurs know this place. Leaders know this place. Nations know this place. And organizations know this place. And the world calls it uncertainty. Transformation calls it preparation. What is our powerful reflection from this? What if the difficulty isn't proof you should stop? What if the proof, what if it is proof that you are growing? I remember a season in the business when the contracts had almost disappeared. A small project here and there, just enough activity to keep hope alive, not enough stability to create certainty. Cash flow became a constraint and concern. Opportunities seemed delayed. Some opportunities disappeared altogether, mind you. And for the first time in my entrepreneurial journey, I found myself asking difficult questions. Not about the business, about myself. For nearly 2 weeks, I barely left my room. Looking back, had I sought professional help, it may very well have been identified as depression. At the time, all I knew was that I felt exhausted, emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. I had spent years being the strong one, the dependable one, the person others leaned on, right? But in that season, I discovered something many leaders never learn. I discovered what it feels like to need help. I discovered what it feels like to say, I'm not okay. I'm struggling. I'm drowning. And perhaps the most surprising lesson was this: the people I had spent years supporting were ready to support me. The people I had allowed to lean on me became anchors in my own storm. The season taught me something I could never have learned from success. Resilience is not pretending to be strong. Resilience is knowing how to remain standing, even when you feel weak, and utilizing the relationships and the people that you have been building around you in the time. Leadership is not carrying every burden alone. Leadership is knowing when to reach for help. And somewhere in that difficult season, my perspective once again shifted. I stopped asking, why is this happening to me? And started asking, what is the season trying to teach me? And what action do I have the capacity to take at that present moment? Because every entrepreneur experiences cash flow pressures, every leader experiences rejection, every visionary experiences self doubt, every builder experiences delays. The question is not whether those moments will come, the question is who we become when they do. That season did not teach me how to avoid storms because they actually can't be avoided sometimes. It taught me how to find stillness inside of them. It taught me how to reconnect with why I started, what the goal was when I started, what my purpose was. To remember why I started, to recover my creativity, to look beyond the obstacle and search again for opportunity. Most importantly, it taught me that sometimes growth does not look like winning. Sometimes growth looks like refusing to quit. Sometimes the bravest thing a leader can do is not take another step forward. Sometimes the bravest thing a leader can do is simply hold their ground long enough for clarity to return. Because not every season is a season for building. Some seasons are seasons for becoming. The last section we look at, or actually just before the last section, the true leaders. This is the moral center of the masterclass. Throughout history, there have always been two kinds of leaders. The first leader pursues success primarily for themselves. The second pursues success through service to others. Both can become wealthy, both can become powerful, both can become influential, both can build impressive organizations. From a distance, they often look identical, but eventually one question exposes the difference. When success arrived, who benefited? Only the leader or everyone around them? One leader asks, how much can I gain? The other asks, how much can I contribute? One leader uses people, the other develops people. One leader extracts value, the other creates value. One leaves transactions, the other leaves transformation. Our powerful reflection here is, are you building whatever it is you are building, whether it is a business to make money or making money because you built something valuable? Those are not the same thing. One of the most important lessons in entrepreneurship that I learned is that people remember how you made them feel long after they forget what you charged them. Over the years, we have invested heavily in developing our people, often training and growing skills internally rather than simply hiring experience. We've gone beyond the scope of contracts because solving the client's problem mattered more than simply ticking boxes. I remember working on the expansion of Four Ways Mall. The project required day and night teams operating continuously to meet critical deadlines. There were nights when I would leave site at 3 a.m. in the morning, drive home, sleep for a few hours, take a shower, and head straight back. Not because it was written in my contract, not because someone was watching, but because the commitment mattered, because the people mattered, because the outcome mattered. Making sure teams had transport home, making sure people had food, making sure the work was done safely and properly. Those things don't always appear on an invoice, but they create value. The same principle is why I continue to mentor young people today and share lessons learned along the way and the journey, because leadership is not measured by how much you extract from the world. Leadership is measured by how much value you remain or will remain because you were there. And then we come to our last part. What happens when nobody's watching? The visible life can only rise as high as the invisible life goes deep. Everyone wants the building. Very few take notice of the foundation. Everybody wants recognition. Very few want the preparation. Everybody wants influence. Very few want the discipline. The world celebrates outcomes. Leadership is built in the process. Construction teaches this beautifully. Nobody sees the foundation once the building is complete. But the building never forgets it, neither does gravity. Our reflection is, what foundations are you currently building that nobody can see? And so, as we close leading without permission, this is where everything comes together. The greatest leaders did not wait for ideal circumstances. They did not wait for approval. They did not wait for the perfect conditions. They accepted responsibility before they received the recognition. They focused on contribution before they received compensation. They built value before they received validation. And the truth is, nobody owes us a seat at any table. Nobody owes us permission. Nobody owes us recognition. But we owe the world our contribution. And the contribution may be a business, it may be a solution, it may be a family, it may be a school, a movement, a community, an idea, a service, or a legacy. And as we close, I want to leave you with these questions. What does success actually mean to you? And who are you becoming while pursuing it? And the last question, if nobody ever gave you a seat at the table, would you still find a way to create value? Because the leaders who change the world are really the people who waited for permission. They are the people who became so valuable, so useful, so committed to service and contribution that eventually the world could no longer ignore them. Watch The Last Dance or any documentary on the greats. When they finally get a seat at the table, they used it not to elevate themselves alone, but to elevate those around them too. That is leadership. That is legacy. And that is what it means to lead without permission. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you, thank you. Yeah, sure. Thank you, thank you, Noxolo. Thank you so much. If you don't mind, maybe you can just keep your video on there because we'll be engaging with you now or engaging you. Yeah, I know that will be recognized or appreciating at a later stage, but I don't blame you. I don't blame you for giving her that appreciation even now. Um, we just celebrated a 50th, what is it called? Youth Day celebration yesterday. And that is why I said, I need Noxolo to be the one who will come this Wednesday because I knew exactly that she was going to give us this, what she gave us today. So wish that there were more younger people, but yeah, we are here, the what is called the older young ones, or I don't know, we can still bulldoze those table seats or tables. Probably still, even some of us who are grandparents already, maybe the question is the table that one is sitting, or is it or sitting at, is the right one, or can we create another one? Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Thank you so much, Noxolo. Thank you so much, my sister. Ladies and gentlemen, we can engage with Noxolo. Now, I know that everyone who was here was listening, and I want to use that word, who was listening. You will agree with me that really we needed something like this. We needed something like this, something that would inspire us, that will make us to go back. And many of you, or many of us, including myself, maybe tonight, I don't know what time you sleep. Maybe you'll be sleeping, but you'll be really asking many questions from tonight's session of masterclass. And that's exactly why I invited her, and she didn't fail or fail us. Thank you so much, Noxolo. While they are still coming, there's so many colleagues. Please, anyone you can answer, but like someone like this Pumelele, I know that you're in entrepreneurship as well. Please do participate, or you once addressed us here and maybe some challenges in the on the journey. But anyone, please, or if I mean, obviously we've got time constraint, but let's see who can ask questions. To be as brief as possible so that we can accommodate each other. Noxolo, if I can just ask you, do you think that maybe one of the things that assisted you was it maybe your background of creative, as you said, that's what you studied, that out of that you had this fire and this desire to create your own thing. Number one. Number two, do you think that all people, or is it possible that there are those who may not be probably able to be uh, creating their own destinies? Maybe others may, because of whatever circumstances or background, will always be supported, or maybe rely on other people. Maybe there are people I know as an academic, probably I've tried entrepreneurship before, I've got my own experiences, my own lessons learned. I had franchises. I owned franchises like Muchachos franchises and others. But I realized at some stage that I was not that kind of a guy who would be going out there and counting chickens and counting stocks and how much. And if you are in that bill, if in that business, you've got to go and joke with customers, children. Hello, how are you? Go. I realize I'm not that guy. I ask my wife to say, will you please continue? Because I mean, we've started this, and also she was saying, no, this is not for me. Is it possible that maybe your line be something else, but as long as, because I think your question is that table that you're sitting, whether are you ready? Were you waiting for someone to to invite you, or can you create your own? Any thoughts there, my sister? Then we'll take some questions.
Okay. Okay, so I'll start with I'll start with the first one. In regards to I think the my creative background did help quite a bit in regards to my approach or thinking to the journey in business and jumping the ship. I would probably say that every aspect of our, when you look at the rear view mirror of your life, whatever your experience is up until that point when you make certain decisions, they play a role in some way or the other, in regards to how you will approach, that particular juncture where you're making a decision, whether it's to start a business or to leave a particular company or whatever the case may be. But for me, it definitely did play a huge role in me being able to build in an industry that I had no degree or any accreditation in. My creative abilities were sort of the ones that helped me navigate to find creative ways to get to the people that I needed to get to, and to maneuver in a way that would assist me to actually get in front of the decision makers and get the deals and and all of that. And also I would add probably my love for people, my genuine love of people, helped me a great deal in that journey, because in the building of the relationships and maintaining those relationships over time also played a huge role. And I mean many other things, including my faith. Because I will proudly say I am Christian, and I very much depend on my faith to be able to see further than the challenge that is before me. And then to your other question around, is it for everyone? Um, I do believe that also, having taken the journey with working with young people, that I'm a strong believer that we are all unique. We have our different capabilities. And so one thing isn't necessarily for everyone. And so you will find that other people can build businesses and then bring in people that can help build the business, right? And then your leadership style or principles thereof are the ones that then help these other people to create value as well in what you are creating. And so it connects either or, whether it is your own business, or it is you participating in a particular business or company or organization, or work that is being done. Are you bringing your best and best foot forward? And is the leadership that you are under able to prune whatever capabilities or gifts that those people are bringing into that business, and making them feel valuable in the value that is being created in the business, if it's in a business space. So entrepreneurship is not necessarily for everyone, definitely, but it is for people who want to, of course, have set their particular goal and know what success means for them. Do they want the freedom to create something that is their own? Do they want to solve problems and all those kinds of notions that you would look at? And do they have the people skills, and are they willing to learn if they don't have it? There's so many levels to it. But I believe that everyone has their own capabilities, and gifts and talents and so forth, and they can bring them to whichever space that they are in, hoping that the leadership in that space is able to recognize that value as well.
Perfect. Thanks, my sister. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we can now engage with Noxolo. Sis Pumelela, any thoughts there? Yes, yeah. Let's take Sis Pumelela. Over to you, my sister.
Thanks very much, Prof. And thanks, Noxolo. Wow. What a great presentation. And as you were speaking, I was wishing that this platform was full of youth, particularly because it's entrepreneurship that's going to get the youth out of the problem, the quagmire that they find themselves in with this joblessness scenario that they're currently facing. What a wonderful presentation. It resonated with me. Ironically, you and I have a bit in common, Noxolo. I also pivoted into health, and my background was never in health. And I don't have a degree in health. And I always say to people, health chose me. And it's also one of those sectors that are complicated. And fast forward to where I am today, I'm in the vaccine space. And I'm not a biochemist or a vaccinologist, and I know so much about vaccines. I've just come from Uganda and Burundi, and I'm happy to say that I've signed a contract where they'll be procuring 4.5 million vaccines from me. Those are HPV vaccines that are WHO pre-qualified. Unfortunately, I've met hurdles and storms in manufacturing locally, but we are working towards fixing that. But you start somewhere. So for me, I had to start as a distributor.
Definitely.
But and so often
well
people.
Done, by the way. Well done.
Oh,
That's
thank
amazing.
you.
Well
Thanks
done.
very much. Thanks, Lolo. And when you were speaking, I was just thinking about how many of the youth are not moving forward because they've studied a degree in finance, and yet there's opportunities in HR or there's opportunities in engineering, and they're just stuck because that's not their background, that's not where studied. So I think that your message needs to reach a lot of our youth because it's really empowering, and I love what you've done, and I can wish you the best and onward and forward. I really enjoyed listening to you. I'm very proud to have met a woman of your caliber, so continue soaring.
You too, sister.
Continue soaring and all the best. Thank you. Thanks, Prof. And thanks, Noxolo.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Pumelele. Thanks, my sister. Thank you very much. You go out there, you represent us in Africa, in our continent. That's why we always say, God bless Africa. Thank you. We're proud of you. Siswezi, over to you, my sister.
Thanks, Prof, and thanks, Noxolo. I don't want to repeat the statement of powerful, of brilliant, of everything good about what you have just given us. I just have a question for you. Would you consider opening a podcast on entrepreneurship? Because I want to believe that it's something that can actually close a particular gap in as far as podcasts are concerned, because most podcasts are about gossip, even if we gossip about Mashaba from Matlanga Commission, it's mainly about gossip. McG, they gossip. But this one, I think many people, especially youth, can benefit from the vast knowledge that which you have shown us this evening. Well done. Congratulations. And to you also, Pumelele.
Thank you so much, Siswezi. I really appreciate those words those warm words that you've shared. I would definitely, it's something that has crossed my mind, and I appreciate that you spoke to it. And I suppose it's more a timing thing than anything else. But there are these initiatives that I am currently busy with young people, and probably the podcast would have a larger reach. And that would be the desired goal, to have a platform where we can reach a lot more young people having these conversations, real conversations at that, that speak to the actual, on the ground challenges that South African youth or African youth face in entrepreneurship. And I mean, there are many, they are layered, they can look complex sometimes, but you can actually unpack that, journey, and share insights from your own experience, which can help then young people actually navigate a bit better than you would have navigated, because you didn't have a compass or someone who was showing you the ropes. And so I think through the work that I do with Legacy Blueprint and the journal, there's a journal that I authored that was mentioned in the introduction. That journal, it speaks to all of these things that some of them spoke to today in regards to leadership. We're just working on the platform right now, because we'll be working with schools. But thank you so much.
Perfect. My professor, the Professor Zita, definitely will be asking you, when are you writing a book? So you really say that you need to write a book. So I know that question would come. Let's just go then to chat room. Adelaide, good evening, Prof. Paul. Powerful presentation. Thank you. Sivuise, powerful statement. Nobody sees foundation when building complete, but building never forgets foundation. Wow, yes, definitely. There's a question. How did the invisible strong foundation help you when things were not looking well? How do you continuously remember that foundation as you are building? That's a question there. And then Sakila Kumete, amazing presentation indeed. Thank you. This might be a personal question. And if it is, please feel free to refrain from answering it. I'm currently in corporate, so I've never given entrepreneurship a chance. When you decide to leave corporate to pursue your own thing, how does one deal with the raising of capital? Does one rely on savings or any other means? I'm generally asking because I've heard people wanting to start their own thing, but become a bit reluctant to do so due to lack of capital. So I guess I'm trying to understand what options are there to fund the goal via financial means. No, that's a good question, Sakila. That's a very good question. And then Morendeni, great presentation, Noxolo. Looking back at your own entrepreneurial journey, what was the biggest shift in your thinking that helped you moving from having ambitions to actually building something? And what advice would you give young people trying to do the same? My sister there, Ketiwe, thank you for sharing these insights. This has reassured me that clarity of your purpose is key in growing one's career. Thank you, colleagues. Some of the questions there, Noxolo, over to you, my sister.
Okay, I'm gonna try and remember. I think Sakile's questions were around leaving corporate and funding and things like that. Well, I think what I could basically say, I mean, that would probably be a very short session on its own, is looking at, there are opportunities in regards to funding, but that's another wild animal and dilemma as well for entrepreneurs. Trust me. It's not as simple as it may sound when someone says there's organizations that have funding, because then it's layered with meeting certain requirements as well. And I mean, if someone is just starting, where would the capital come from, right? I was blessed enough when I jumped ship from corporate to have met a gentleman at that time who had started a construction company already, but was struggling in terms of how and where to take it. And as I listened to him share about the business and what it did, and asked a number of questions, I was able to pick up those gaps that I knew I could fill, right? In terms of my abilities and my capabilities and my strengths. I was able to see that actually, if you brought me on board, I believe that I could close X, Y, and Z in terms of gaps, and that's exactly what I did when I went on board there. Because I had taken the time to understand what my strengths were and who I was. And that's also what led to me leaving corporate, because I knew my value. And I understood as I went through these first few years, 4 years or so of being in corporate, that actually the pace that this is going at is not going to work for me. And the fact that there has to be so much power in the hands of another person in regards to my growth, I didn't like that at all. There are many things that I didn't like about corporate that didn't just sit well with me. Whether it was the freedom to do what I wanted, how I wanted, and the approach that I saw fit because I believed in what I was doing, and not having that freedom there. Whether it was, oh, if you're sick, you can only get sick 5 times a year, or whatever that looks like. And me saying, I can't live like that. I need to have the freedom to live. And having also a father who had been an entrepreneur his whole entire life, and had never worked for any organization or anyone else, I also think it helped a lot in the bravery to make that jump. But again, coming back to capital, one has to again be resourceful. Other people start through savings, other people look at what opportunities. I think you do your research. Also, research is a big thing. You research and you find, in this industry that I'm going in, this need that I'm fulfilling, what are the opportunities there in regards to funding? What are the requirements? Can I then first put money towards, a little bit of money towards meeting the requirements first, and then building up to the next level, because you're not going to, of course, just start a business and it's already making a million and above, or 2 or 5 million. It's not always going to work that way. Sometimes you have to start a bit small. And that's always also not the case. It just depends on the industry. So yes, I think it would be a conversation on its own, where one would have to determine what industry, what opportunities are there, which organizations are funding, which corporates are also having ESD programs that do grants and all kinds of things, because there's quite a lot out there. And then once you look at that full scope and you believe in what it is that you're wanting to do, and you've really zoomed in terms of the opportunity, then you can take that decision in terms of where that money might come from. I hope that answers that question. And then I think there was a question from Murendeni in terms of what enabled me to make the shift, or the jump. I'm not sure what that question was again. From just the idea stage to actually acting on making that jump from corporate.
We can read it again. Murendeni, great presentation, Noxolo. Looking back at your own entrepreneurial journey, what was the biggest shift in your thinking that helped you moving from having ambitions to actually building something? And what advice would you give young people trying to do the same? There's another question that was from, yes, Sivuyise.
Okay.
Powerful statement. And then he quoted, I love that quote as well. And then the question is, how did the invisible strong foundation help you when things were not looking well? How do you continuously remember that foundation as you are building? So those 2 questions for now. We'll take the last round after your response.
Okay, so to that question of how that shift that happened, the shift was very much on me believing in my abilities. I think it ties up a lot with, it's one thing to have a dream or a goal that you want to achieve, but it's an entirely different concept to understand who you are and what you can do, and believe in that. And so if you are lacking the ability to believe in you pulling off this thing, chances are you shouldn't even start, because there's going to come a time where it is going to be questioned even by the people around you when you're making the jump. Like, are you sure? Can you do this? What if it fails? People will challenge it even in the middle of it while you're already doing it. You'll get rejected. And so if at your core you do not believe that it can work and that you can make it work, because you must be able to stand in the fires sometimes, of taking this from idea to conception, from conception to actual reality, to getting the contracts, to convincing clients to give you an opportunity. The conviction that comes with that also has a role to play with how people receive you, right? And also being willing to get out of your comfort zone, right? For me, being able to approach people in construction, the directors who other people would be scared to approach, being able to search diligently for the contacts of MDs and being like, I want a meeting with you, and being persistent, and having the audacity and the guts to walk into that room and say, I've done the work. I've prepared everything that needs to be prepared. I'm ready for an opportunity. Give me an opportunity, and so all of those things are fed from a place of, do I believe in myself, and do I believe in this solution that I am bringing, whatever that looks like. And I think that's the shift that one would need to make if it's not yet there, or build towards that belief in self and your abilities, and understanding where your strengths are as well. And what other things don't you have that other people can assist with, because sometimes you don't have everything, and so you will need to be able to find the people that can help you to make that journey a reality, and to achieve that goal. So yeah, I think that is my answer to Morendeni. And I mean, my advice would be, go for it. If you have that in place, go for it. Don't overthink things. If you believe in yourself and you've done the work and you've done the research and you've looked at industry and you have a solution to a problem, go for it. And also find mentors. I think mentors are very important. And it is also important that you choose them, because you know what it is you're wanting to build. So it is not what everybody else says that, oh, this person is good. It's what do you see them as being good in what they do? And does it align with what you want to achieve? And then find those mentors, reach out to them. And more than often than not, they're willing to help you embark on that journey.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
think the voice one to still remember. I think the another one, then maybe I can just ask to respond to them and give us your closing remarks after that. Let me remind you the CV one. The CV is, how did the invisible strong foundation help you when things were not looking well? How do you continuously remember that foundation as you're building? This was after years quoted your very nice of men. You put there a very nice quote from you about the building there. Let's just finish them. Pumalele, one of the best presentations I've listened to in a very long time. Very refreshing, prof. I've a hard stop. I'm sorry to leave. Okay, yeah. Thanks. Left. Reverend Metula, thanks a trillion times and beyond. It's Noxolo for insightful, profound, and extremely helpful masterclass on entrepreneurship and leading without permission. Very powerful. Sakile, there's fun with yeah. So I think that is the CV says question for now, Noxolo. Then after that, you can just give us your parting shots, and then we will close the session after that. Thanks, my sister. Go ahead.
Thank you, Prof. So to Sivile, I think it is. How do I think, stay the course in regards to the foundation? How do I remember? I would honestly say that it's through the people I keep close. And it's one of the major things that I cover with young people. How how do you choose the people to keep close to you, whether it's friends or acquaintances or, your circle? Your circle. Your circle must be very intentional when you are taking on particular journeys. You have to be very intentional and specific to the kind of people you keep around you. Because when those storms come and those challenges come, and you sometimes, because you are human, forget that this is why I started. It is most times going to be those people that will remind you. It is going to be those people. And I spoke to learning how to lean on those people, because you would have built those relationships over time. They have a good understanding of who you are. You're very intentional with what kind of people they share the principles. There's certain integrity and a safety kind of net that you create in regards to the people that you keep close to you. So that would be one way I would say has worked for me. And the other way would definitely be the fact that I constantly have I don't know if I'll call it my vision chart or vision board, that clearly, because I think also the human mind has a way of forgetting when you're stressed and things are not going well. So it's always good to keep something visual that reminds you of whether it's certain quotes or what the vision is and what the goal is, so that in the moments that it sort of goes away, you have something that you can look at and be like, actually, this is why I started. I've still not reached the goal. Yes, I've made challenges, but I still need to, soldier on. And so you find your coping mechanisms, and they look different for everyone. But I do believe that those are some of the ways that have helped me remember what my foundation is, why I started, and all the values that I pull from that, and the strength that I pull from that. I think that is how I would answer that. I hope it helps. And then I think in closing statement, it's literally just to go back to what I shared today, that we don't always have to wait for some table or some opportunity. We don't have to say, when will government do? When will this organization do? When will they give me a promotion? And all these things that we're waiting on sometimes, we can actually make a decision and a choice to say, I'm sitting down, I am going to build the table, whatever that table looks like for you. It might be a business, it might be a career move, it might be moving from one company to the next because this doesn't serve you anymore or serve the goal you're trying to achieve. It can look like anything, and it literally then requires you to say, I don't need to wait. I don't need permission. I can actually take steps and take initiative to actually get to where I want to get. And of course, then you follow the process of defining what that success looks like for you. And that is my, closing bit. And I hope it helps someone somewhere to really be able to reflect and find whatever it is that they want to achieve, and then build up to being an amazing leader in that space. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Noxolo. Thank you so much, my sister.
Thank you. Thank
you
you.
for your
Thank you to everyone.
inspiring and your thought-provoking, moving, and very illuminating presentation. You've moved us. I would really like to thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, why don't we just appreciate Sis Noxolo, find an icon down there, and then let's just express some love. Let's thank her, and this is just to say, if we're in person, we'll be giving you a round of applause, and we appreciate you, and thank you so much for empowering us tonight. We will definitely call you again. I know that you are one of us in this platform, but we'll definitely call you again to inspire us, because as I said, we do need these presentations I mean, all of us. I think that will really make us. Professor Mdluli just sent me a message now that once after you've attended or rather listened to this presentation, you just have some headaches, and because there's so many questions in your head, and I can identify with him because now there's so many things that you are asking. And then yes, I mean, really, we need something like this where you can ask us, push us, challenge us. Are we in the right track? Are you happy with what you have, what you are doing? Is there another table that you can maybe that you can create for yourself? And thank you so much, Noxolo. We really appreciate this. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much to those who joined us for the first time tonight. Please do remember that we meet every Wednesdays. Next week, Wednesday, we'll be back again here with another speaker, another topic, another interesting topic and a speaker as well, as we always do. This is our super master classes. Will never come here and be the same again. Thank you. The session is adjourned now. Ladies and gentlemen, may God bless you and may God bless Africa. Kosi Sigeleli Africa. Thank you until we meet again next week, Wednesday. God bless you. Thank you and goodbye. Bye. Bye-bye.